Hi, it's Pastor Trish. Welcome to this weekly devotion where we look at what's coming up for the coming Sunday in terms of our lectionary and the stories we will be looking at. Those of you who tune in regularly or are at church, whoa, on a regular basis, know that we are doing some stories of different biblical characters. And this coming week, we are going to look at Zacchaeus. I'm excited about doing that. Zacchaeus actually comes through in the lectionary, but many times we don't get to that story. For example, this year, it's Luke chapter 19, so it's kind of toward the end of our season, our Pentecost or ordinary time, the time after Pentecost season, and it falls on Reformation Sunday this year, for example. And so we often use Reformation texts instead of the regular lectionary. And so we are looking at Zacchaeus this coming Sunday, and I want to read that story to you. Again, Luke chapter 9, beginning with verse 1. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man there named Zacchaeus, he was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him because he was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. All who saw it began to grumble, and they said, He's gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost. This is the gospel of our Lord. There are lots of images in this story, lots of things to consider, and at this point I have no idea where the sermon might take me for this coming Sunday, but I want to just point out a few of those images and ideas. The first is that tree that he climbs, and the fact that Zacchaeus is short in stature. I still remember driving by or stopping at a sycamore tree that was considered Zacchaeus's tree on the road to Jericho when I was able to tour the Israel and Palestine when I was in seminary. A sycamore tree can be climbed fairly easily. Doesn't necessarily give you a lot of height all the way up, but broad, wide branches that would give you some additional climbing and then viewing power. To be short in stature, of course, we often think that he was a short man physically. Another way to interpret that, however, is to understand him as being short in stature in terms of how he was viewed by and accepted other people. Of course, as a tax collector, and not just any tax collector, the chief or a chief tax collector meant others reported to him, meant he wasn't just rich, he was very, very wealthy, yet, of course, looked down upon by many people because of his occupation and the things he did. So you can also consider him short in stature based on his vocation and his social acceptance. I am taken with and might follow this a little bit more about Zacchaeus' desire to see Jesus and Jesus seeing Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus climbs into that tree in order to see Zacchaeus, but what becomes the story is Jesus seeing him. And so I'm struck by that and might go someplace with that. And then just some other themes from this story. Of course, that we understand it as Jesus, again, paying attention to, providing, offering salvation to those that are on the outside, those that are not considered a part of society or are looked down upon for whatever reason, being a sinner, being a tax collector, those kinds of things. Yet that doesn't stop Jesus from welcoming Zacchaeus and speaking with him and offering him salvation. A couple of the themes that one of my commentaries talked about was, again, this divine extravagance that we see both from Jesus and Zacchaeus in his response to the mercy of God, his willingness to give so much away to repay if he has defrauded anyone, and certainly God's relentless desire to come to Jesus and to offer God's love and mercy. And then just one more thing about Zacchaeus' statement that I have given, let me read it again. Half of my possessions I'll give to the poor. If I've defrauded anyone, I will pay them back fourfold. In one sense, that can be understood as a future action that Zacchaeus is promising to do. But again, if we look more carefully at the Greek, it can also be interpreted that Zacchaeus is saying, I do this. That is already a part of my practice. And then the story is about how other people have made judgment of Zacchaeus and have already predetermined who he is or how he acts. And Jesus, when he says he too is a son of Abraham, is perhaps offering a defense of Zacchaeus as being a good Jew, despite his occupation, that he is already doing many of the things that a good and faithful person would do. So again, lots of different ways to interpret that. I hope that you can join us Sunday 8:30 in person, also live on Facebook. That's our Inside Worship, 10 o'clock. We will be outside, weather permitting. I think the weather's sounding good at this point. So hope that you can join us in one of those forms. Have a great day. Spend a little time with Zacchaeus and enjoy the story. Thanks for joining me.